one thing I wanted to explore is the greatest mysteries on planet Earth. And it is when a series is so strong and robust and universally loved.
Oh, yeah.
And then it just takes a big fucking nosedive out of nowhere. And we're just left here. We're just like, what happened?
How did we get here?
What happened? And then it's just like in 2012, under the stewardship of 343, Halo 4 was like, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back. And then it's just like, is it? Is it? So,
are we back yet, fellas?
So, David and I, before this episode, were kind of throwing around the idea of like, what's a game series that, isn't quite what it used to be. And the sad reality is, we can talk about a lot of different series, but the one that we ended up kind of like narrowing down on is the Halo series. And I guess we're going to talk a little bit about where it came from, or like, why it was so great, but also the main point of this conversation, in a nutshell, is to try and pinpoint when the series kind of started falling off, or when it started to die. So I don't know. Let's talk about it for a bit. So David, give me a quick little 30-second, 60-second blurb about like your experience with Halo. Tell me about Halo. Where does Halo come from?
Well, to me, Halo is my childhood, basically. I've had so many memories playing the original trilogy, 1, 2, and 3, and I think it defined a generation of gamers. To me, the first multiplayer online game I ever played was Halo 2. Back when, obviously, I got Xbox Live for the first time.
I'm sure that'd be the same for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, and that game took over my life. I never went outside again after that. I'm probably the reason I am, because of Halo 2. Back where...
Is that why you're translucent?
Back where, you could be part of a clan and not be bullied. Back when MLG was first popping off.
Before people were saying slurs about my mother.
Apparently everyone knows my mother on Xbox Live. I got questions. Like I said, it defined a generation. There is no perfect trilogy I can think of than the Halo trilogy, 1, 2, and 3. And to me, it will always have a special place in my heart, because I look fondly back on it. And I still sometimes go on the Halo Master Chief Collection and still play some Halo 3, Halo 2 games, because it is just a timeless classic. And I don't think you can set out for any series, really. Bungie cooked with this. They cooked perfectly with this.
They cooked.
It is the crystal meth Breaking Bad of a video game. It is addictive, and you can't fault it at all, in my opinion.
Dare I say, the Halo series went from they cooked to, oh no, they're cooked. Anyway.
Kill yourself in the game, please.
Yeah. Cut that. Anyway, so I guess that my experience with the Halo series, so I was like super late to it. I didn't play it early on like the original Xbox console. I didn't even have like an Xbox console until like halfway through the Xbox 360 life cycle. And the first Halo game that I actually played was Halo 3. And by the time I had played that, I had pretty much already played Call of Duty.
Right.
And to me, having first-person shooter where you couldn't aim down the sights just felt wrong. So it was just like, I was like, what's the hype about? I don't get it. But then I went back, and then I played it, and then I ended up having a really big appreciation for it. And I know that the moment I grew up in a small town. And in a small town, they occasionally combine businesses that maybe shouldn't be combined. So one of them was the local movie theater, which also doubled as a squash court, which also doubled...
Brother, what?
Yeah, which also doubled as a gaming room where they had an Xbox 360 set up in a dark, basically a theater room with 4 Xbox 360 controllers and a projector. It only had Halo 3, and you just play 4-player split screen with each other. And I just have so many fond memories playing that multiplayer. Yeah. And I think that LAN experience is like something so special that really isn't in gaming anymore. And I think that in hindsight, Halo really pioneered that experience. And I think that whole like late night LAN party kind of vibe, I'm kind of sad that I feel like I almost completely missed that part of gaming history. But then, obviously, something changed. And
meth.
So from articles, videos, stuff that I've been kind of just consuming over the past week, I was hearing that Bungie was pretty much like they just kind of had their fill with Halo.
Yeah.
And they were just wanting to move on. They were just wanting to do something
Which is fair enough. I mean, that was the only thing they were known for, which was Halo.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And they wanted to move on to obviously Destiny, and that was like something that was in the works for ages, and they kind of just, as like a final, like under contract, but also just like, a final favor to Microsoft, they basically released Halo Reach, which I'm just going to say now, that is probably one of my favorite, if not the favorite Halo for me. But then, as we all know, basically the Halo franchise or the Halo series shifted over to 343. I'm pretty sure it was under 343's stewardship where they were in charge of the remaster, the Master Chief Collection, but they also did the Combat Evolved remaster, I think, in 2011. I could be wrong. The
Anniversary Edition, I think it was called.
Anniversary Edition, that's right.
Yeah.
But I guess my question to you, some people speculate that it's basically the second it went over to 343. Mm-hmm. Some people say that it's Halo 5 or Halo Guardians. Yeah. And then some people say that it's the most recent Halo Infinite that just it's just the crying whimper of death of the franchise of the series.
Yeah.
I guess I want to hear from your opinion or perspective. Like, where do you think that the end started?
You honestly think that as good, as talented as 343 is, I think they were doomed from the start, because how do you compare to Bungie?
How do you compete?
How do you... It's a massive shadow that they still haven't been able to grow out of. And they've been the forerunners of, with Halo for the last, 13 years. And how can you obviously compare Reach to Halo 4? Because it went to Reach and Halo 4. Again, Halo 4, in my opinion, is a good Halo. It was a first attempt. 343 Studios was their first attempt at Halo, and they had a lot of strength. It felt like Halo. The story was a bit, wasn't as good as the original trilogy, but it was nice to have an addition to Halo. And the multiplayer wasn't that bad. To me, I think I have to agree with obviously the community and the people and the fans out there. It was Guardians for me. It was Halo 5 Guardians.
Interesting. What about it specifically?
First of all, the story you only played Master Chief for 3 missions, and that pissed me off because I wanted to play as Master Chief the whole time. But the gameplay, it didn't feel like a Halo. It felt more, obviously they were coming into, hey, what if we make Halo like the next Call of Duty? And it was very designed around, making it to compete with Call of Duty and Battlefield with its gameplay mechanics.
Like the multiplayer and stuff. I feel like I remember the multiplayer feeling a little bit more like MLG.
Stuff, but it just didn't have that Halo, that Bungie charm or that Halo charm.
That soul, that heart.
That soul, that heart. It just felt like the multiplayer felt like it was just tacked on.
Yeah,
and to me, while the story, props to them, it was beautiful watching it on the new series, on the new gen consoles back then. It just felt very soulless compared to the original trilogy, which had so much love and care and attention. So for me, 5 is where it kind of dropped off. And
wow, okay,
you can clearly see it had a lasting impact, because when Infinite came out, they did something very new with it. I've never played the story, but I've heard multiple reports that the story is really fantastic. But they still fumbled it with some poor choices around, not having split screen at launch, not having Forge at launch, not being able to choose your own multiplayer playlist like you have in a random select.
That almost feels like a trend that's just starting to happen more and more in multiplayer gaming these days, where it's look, we're gonna just launch this game, content poor. It's just not gonna have that much variety, and then we'll just patch it in later. Come on, you've had years to work on this shit.
Exactly, years. And I think a lot of people to blame. I think generally it's Microsoft's issue. Microsoft probably pushed a lot of pressure on 343 because they did release it in a very broken, buggy state. Especially since that Microsoft were like, "Hey, here's a new Series X console. We really need Halo on this." Because they did this weird thing where they released the multiplayer first as a free to play. Which has a bunch of microtransactions, which really feels like a shadow of itself, like a Hollow's husk. And then they released the campaign a few months later. With
to be fair, when the multiplayer dropped for Infinite, though, I thought it was really fun, and I was trying to do all the challenges, get the samurai looking armor, it was really cool, man, and it felt really good too. Just kind of felt like that was it, though. And then when the actual full game launched, it was there's nothing really new. I was like, what's this? A season of Halo is taking a year?
What? Halo has a battle pass now? Oh my god! Oh yeah, and to me, on top of that, the one thing I loved about Halo was the custom games, like playing Forge and building your own custom maps and making like custom games like Infected and stuff like that. And that was missing in Halo Infinite, and it just really for me just didn't feel like there was any much replayability for it.
Sure, yeah. I was just going to say, so I will answer that in 2 seconds, but I guess I've just got some notes here, and I'll just go through kind of like a bit of a case for each game as them being kind of like the point in the series where they could potentially fall off. So with Halo 4, for example, so that came out in 2012. And the art style it had shifted, particularly like the design of the weapons and the characters and everything kind of it was Halo, but it kind of felt a little bit different.
Yeah.
Also the shift to including the Promethean enemies. So I think a lot of people found them to be a lot less engaging than just the typical Covenant or Flood. The Flood from memory weren't even present in the game at all. And there was Covenant, but it was mainly the Prometheans that you were focusing on. And in regards to multiplayer, there was the introduction of loadouts, kill streaks, ordnance drops, and the multiplayer moved. It was kind of like, it was still Halo technically, but it felt design-wise a lot more like Call of Duty. Like you said earlier, just to try and kind of play a bit of catch-up to the heavy hitter of
which you didn't need to
the current time. Well, Halo was kind of like, it was an innovator, and it then just kind of succumbed to being something that was trying to fit in with the rest of the crowd. And that's just something I've never really liked.
It stood out from the rest, and it just was, it felt really just a slap in the face to try and mimic something else. Yeah,
it almost feels just kind of lazy. But then again, like, I don't want to like be too harsh here with saying that, because I mean, let's remember the series shifted hands by this point.
Yeah.
So it's probably Microsoft as well being like, oh, you got to make something big. You got to make a cash cow for us.
Or Big Phil's going to come and slap you.
And, this, I don't know. The story seemed a little bit complex. And here's something that I think is kind of present in the original trilogy, so I can't necessarily fault 343 too much for this. But one thing that I don't like about the Halo series is that each game kind of just feels like it starts so completely separately from the previous game, like in a completely it feels like there's nothing connecting Halo 4 and Halo 5. Like it's a continuation, but it's so loose, which it has always bugged me. I just wish it's like, cool, Halo 5 is going to be immediately after Halo 4. So so there's that. I'm gonna quickly cough for 2 seconds. Just give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, cough for me.
Yes. Okay, so I'll quickly move on because I'm also being conscious of time here. So the Halo 5, so we all know what happened there. So mixed reception right out the gate, and it's because of the change up in the campaign with the bigger focus on Spartan Locke and his team. And the whole marketing was like Hunt the Truth or whatever. And I, to be fair, I actually liked the marketing campaign because it was like, oh my God, we could actually be versing the Chief, and I thought that was really interesting. But then when people actually started playing it and realizing, like you said before, there's only 3 missions with the Chief. What the fuck? This is a Halo game.
And then the big fight, like the big verse, was just in a cutscene of just
so shit, man.
Locke getting punched out by Master Chief, which was going to happen eventually.
Yeah, and there was a lack of split screen in that game as well. Kind of like what you were talking about before with Halo Infinite. Microtransactions as well, or the rec system in multiplayer was seen as pay to win by some, and it kind of it got really egregious. And keep in mind, back then, that was also around the era of like the loot boxes and stuff like that. So it was just really wasn't great. And then when it came to Halo Infinite, kind of what you were touching on before, so it was a return to the classic Halo gameplay feel, excellent gunplay movement, and I can't really deny that. And the other elements like the grappling hook, like it's just like a nice little. Yeah, it was cool. Like Zeta Halo. But it was also criticized for being quite empty and repetitive and lacking like a diverse biome and engaging side content. And I'm going to be honest, like 2021 and having like an open world design, like it felt really just like behind the times. And the live service model, I poked fun at it before, but the slow content updates, lack of promised features like the co-op campaign, Forge at launch. There was also a bit of a controversial monetization system. So I've obviously gone through kind of like a bit of a summary with what each game kind of did, what features kind of implemented. And I guess to go back to your question on like where I think it started to fall off, I think you can arguably say it started with Halo 4, although I personally love Halo 4. I actually think it's fine. I think it's a good game. I wasn't as much of a fan of the Promethean stuff as well, admittedly, and I wasn't as much of a fan of like the guns and stuff like that. So like it did feel different, but I'm going to explain it with some movies. So let's look at Star Wars, the sequel trilogy. So The Force Awakens, when it came out, everyone fucking loved it. It was just, everyone's like, oh my God, Star Wars is so bad. This is sick. And then,
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Yeah, and then the next one came out, and it's just like, what the fuck? and then again, The Rise of Skywalker came out, and then everyone's like, dude, what the hell has happened? Everyone kind of went back to The Force Awakens, and then they realized, oh, this wasn't actually that good from the start. And I genuinely think that if the reception for the last two movies was better, I think that no one would have an issue with The Force Awakens. Yeah, sure, it's a bit cringe and quippy and all that shit, but so's the Avengers from 2012. And no one really has a problem with that because they absolutely nailed it with Infinity War and Endgame. And I think that it's the same issue here. I think that Halo 4, on its own, there's nothing wrong with it, and I think it's a great game, and I really enjoyed the campaign. I thought it was engaging. It felt more cinematic.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the multiplayer personally, and I love that they tried a few different things. Like I think they were doing Spartan Ops at the time, where they were releasing like new content, like I think once a week or something.
Yeah,
it felt very innovative, and like they were really trying to provide a premium package at the time. And I think they also were releasing a TV show. I think it was like Halo Nightfall at the time, or a web series around the same time. So they really doubled down with that game and went all out. But I would say that because of how much they 343 missed the mark with Halo 5, and then how they just, it took them how many years to make, like 6 years basically, to make Halo Infinite, and it wasn't even complete when they released it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't... exactly. What are you doing as a studio? And then also, I don't know if you can really blame Microsoft, because it feels like Microsoft were just throwing money at the studio.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they hadn't really done anything else except for Halo.
Exactly.
It's also like, I don't know, the individual staff and devs, if they were like... I'm not saying that they were inexperienced or anything like that, but it is a studio that doesn't really have a track record. It just seemed like they had this monumental task of delivering these Halo games in the shadow of Titans, basically, which were Bungie, and then it was just a mess.
It also blows my mind that on the 360 era, we got 3 Halo games. Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, Halo Reach, and then obviously the Halo War games as well.
Yeah.
And then...
it makes... Yeah.
And then the next generation, we only got one Halo, which is Halo 5 Guardians. And now this generation, we only got one Halo, which is Halo Infinite. So...
it makes me sad, man.
Yeah, it makes me really depressed.
I think the better games are looking... It's no secret that there's a lot more time and resources and manpower that goes into creating games now.
Yeah.
You know, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
But I really miss that era where games really... You know, obviously 100%. They took a long time to make, but it didn't take anywhere near as long as it does now. I do miss that. But okay, so I guess a really long-winded answer. I definitely think that I would say Halo 4 with an asterisk is where the series kind of started to fall off, because with hindsight of Halo Infinite and Halo Guardians, because both were kind of just like whatever the fuck they were, just swings and misses. I think that it kind of makes me just not want to go back and play Halo 4. Yeah. And it just gives... It leaves a really bad taste in my mouth for the whole 343 era.
Yeah.
I mean, even, man, with the Master Chief Collection, when I played that when it first came out, it was a massive, buggy mess. Yeah. I'm just like, dude, what are you guys doing?
Like, I didn't understand how they could mess that up, because all they had to do was just copy and paste it. That's all you had to do. What are we doing here?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm sure it wasn't that simple, but I think technically it was from Halo 4, but I'm very happy to agree with Halo 5 being the main culprit or tipping point.
Well, to me, I think agree with you, Halo 5, and thank God for the Master Chief Collection. Even though when it did get released, it was a buggy launch, it was an awful launch, but I still think the reason why Halo is still alive is because people, especially people on Xbox, especially people on Steam, still play the Master Chief Collection because of just those heavy hitters of those Halo games that are still on there.
Yes, and I mean, I agree. I think that that's probably one of the main ways that people are still engaging with it, either that or Halo Infinite. But man, if you want people to still love a series, you got to create new games within the series, new entries, so that way it's satiating the existing fan base and also enticing a new fan base to come and keep that series alive. Because if you don't, it's just gonna slowly die, and then eventually, when you try and release a new game like over a decade after the last one, or maybe almost 2 or 3 decades after the last really great one, maybe in the future, it's just who's going to give a fuck?
Exactly.
But let's try and end this on a positive note. Do you think that with the reformation or rebranding of 343 into Halo Studios, and I believe it's new leadership as well, and a bit more of a new direction, do you have a hopeful feeling for the future of the Halo series with the new games based on some of the stills that we saw, or do you think it's just going to be much of the same?
I want to be optimistic. I don't want to think it's going to be much of the same, because I think, Halo 5, Guardians, and Halo Infinite are 2 different games. Especially they did something very innovative with Halo 5. I think I want to be hopeful that this new leadership and this new direction takes a look at the past very, very closely, just to see what the magic was with the original trilogy of Halos and Halo Reach and ODST, and bring that to the forefront for this next Halo. If they do that, Halo would be back. And my God, I want Halo to be back so bad. I really wanted to be standing against the giants like Call of Duty, Battlefield, and the other shooters as well, because it deserves it. It's a massive juggernaut, and it deserves to be treated with respect that Bungie did back in the day.
I agree. I think you only need one game, really. One really good game, and people are going to be like, "Oh my God, we're so back! This is awesome."
Yeah,
I'm thinking I'm back. I think honestly, that's all we need. But am I skeptical that that's going to happen? A little bit, because we basically have ever since 2015, like literally 10 years ago, we got Halo Guardians, and since then we've gotten Infinite, and it's just like, what are these games? And with 10 years and a bad taste in your mouth, it's natural to feel a little bit, what's the saying, once bitten twice shy, or whatever. So I'm choosing to be optimistic for the future. I really, really hope Microsoft kind of pulls their finger out and really starts focusing on their first party games again. I know you've got a video coming up shortly in the coming days talking about basically what the fuck is happening.